448 rotation?
What happened to his uniform?
I thought that started already. No, it starts Monday.
Town Salem Fire Rescue guys and gals, thank you very much for coming out here in uniform tonight. We know this is your regular training night and truck check, okay? Once we depart here this evening, you're going to go back and take care of your truck check, but we really appreciate the fact that you are here to recognize the individuals, and also that you as a team member, along with Kenosha County Sheriff's Department, Joint Services, Flight for Life, and I'll probably forget someone, okay, but I don't mean to. That's how we work, though, as a team. There are certain members that were on the call. However, at any time, they know that we can call on any of you to perform those same functions, and I'm really proud of you for that. I'm proud of the fact that we can work with Joint Services, that we can work with the Sheriff's Department, and that we can work with any other agencies that would respond out to any of these calls that we go to. So the onus is on you. It's always on you whenever you get dispatched to a call, and I really appreciate the fact that you can handle these calls and you mitigate these emergencies. I'd like to introduce a couple people tonight. Mike Coulott from the Town of Salem Board, he's supervisor of the town board. He's over here, sitting on this side over here. See, you had to touch it, didn't you? Just a second, I'll get it for you. Good? She's Jason. I'd also like to introduce Amanda Williams from Kenosha County Joint Services, our dispatcher that was on the call. Deputy Terry Tiff, okay, K-9 officer sitting up front, finally dressed out in uniform tonight because he just came off the golf course. But I'm glad for him, okay, that yeah, right? You work all day, see? Yeah. It don't matter. If you're on the golf course, it don't matter, is what I've been told. But he apologized for not being in uniform, and he said it's absolutely okay. This is informal, okay, and we want him here because he was part of the call. Detective Tim Hackbarth, sitting right here. Tim, I don't know if it's good or bad. I've seen a lot of you lately. I hope at least it's been on the good side of the law right now, okay? It's true. And we have this patrol supervisor, Sergeant. I just known by Sergeant. Steve Baranis. Steve Baranis, okay, who's this shift patrol supervisor. I like him because he never comes in and says anything like, except, do you need anything? So it's very good. Okay, so we're going to now carry on with this ceremony. Remember that, never mind, let's don't remember. Let's just get started. Do you want me to work it for you?
You told me, there we go.
All right, so you're forward. Tam, Chap.
I also want to,
The flight crew.
yes.
I didn't do that. It wasn't on my paper. Sorry. I'm glad I got you messed up. That makes all
Introduce Tom Bradke. He was the flight paramedic on this transport. Jason Shields was in flight comm. He couldn't be here this evening. He has his kids tonight. Chelsea Lesniak was the flight nurse, but she is out. She just had a baby recently, so she's out on FMLA. Rebecca Swoko, the base manager in McHenry, is in the back. She lives down the road, so she wanted to come over tonight as well. So I want to explain a little bit, and there are some of you in this room that have been through this once before. You may recall that, you may not, depends on how old you are, Jimmy LaCar.
The little guy just screamed about the helicopter.
The little guy just screamed.
Yeah, don't look at me about the helicopter.
You know what? I didn't hear you. So it all works out for. I thought it was you. Sorry.
No, I'm a louder.
So why we're here tonight? This is the 22nd annual Scene Call of the Year Award. Salem, Town of Salem Fire and Rescue received this. They received the award once before. We do a full-time department, and we do a combination department that may do volunteer, paid on call, full-time folks. So we do 2 awards a year per base. And why this award came to this department, just a couple of things that I like to talk about, and that is utilizing resources, integrating the helicopter into the call, doing things and making decisions in a critical situation, especially in this situation. It was a pediatric patient, very young, and sustained burns. Pretty traumatic to come into, especially if you have children of your own. And some other things that were going on at the scene. How to triage, like I said, utilizing your resources. And it's teamwork. And it's not just teamwork amongst the department. It's teamwork with the Sheriff's Department, with Kenosha County Joint Services, with Flight for Life, anyone else that may be involved. It's about working as a team, because there is no one in this room that does this job alone. Are you coming up here with me? I saw you smile at me. So there is someone in this room that was part of the 2008 Scene Call of the Year Award, other than a lot of you, and that's Tom Bradkey. Last night, when I was finalizing this, I was going through my files, which are immense, and looking at pictures, and I'm like, oh my God. Tom was on the call from 2008, which some of you may remember, the school bus and the semi out on Highway 50. I know, Mandy, you do. That you had multiple patients, multiple departments. And Tom was the flight paramedic that day. So Tom, I had to go back in history a little bit.
At least it's not one of the other pictures.
At least it's not some other photos that I have of Tom. If you have a large amount of money, please see me later. So what I want to do now is, I'm going to put a few of you on the spot, and I'm going to ask you to step up front and to talk a little bit about your part of the call. And we're going to start it from the unseen heroes that answer that call each and every day, each and every night, that put, don't be starting to look around, Amanda, you know who it is. Wonder who she's talking about. It's you. So the people that never see the scene, that never see the patient, but are critical to you guys being able to do your job, whether it's the Sheriff's Department, whether it's the Fire Department, whether it's us. Because you've got to make that call or use the Flight for Life web-based app and contact us. Our dispatch takes over and they get to our crew and they come out. So what we'd like to do is talk a little bit about, if you would, come up just a second. And you had quite a difficult time with this call, getting information. So if you would share with the group, while I take your photo as I step into my other role.
Multitasking. So what exactly would you like to know as far as?
Just a little bit about, you received the call, you couldn't get a lot of information, the things that you had to do to pry this information out of the caller.
Okay. My name's Amanda. I work for Kenosha Joint Services. So normally when we get calls, we ask specific questions to get information for our sheriff, deputies, and the rescue personnel. That particular day, I do remember getting a call and trying to get information in reference to the child that was injured. So some of the questions I have to ask is, how did it happen? When did it happen? Where did it happen? If they're conscious or breathing. The reason we ask these questions is because we need to know, we need to let the rescue personnel know what's going on so they'll know how to respond, if they need to go emergent or not. That day, I was a little nervous, and I do remember holding my hand up. We have supervisors that sit in the center of the floor, and if we have questions, they're there to help us. So I remember being the one to do this at the same time while I was on the call. And I do believe I was also dispatching the call out as well. So it was taking the call and also dispatching the call out as well. So what's going on is I'm on the line, taking information from the patient, and I'm also trying to get rescue and fire to respond at the same time. So while the rescue squads and the fire department are talking to me, I'm also talking to the patient, trying to give them information to help them feel comfortable and safe until we can get help there. So I do remember that day being very intense and not feeling as confident as I'd like to feel when I'm doing these calls because there's a child involved. So, like I said, my job was to make the patient feel comfortable and get them the help out as soon as I could. And I think I did a good job.
I would say you did.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I'll let Mike know how fabulous you were. So next up, you dispatched Sheriff's Department, you dispatched the town of Salem Fire Rescue. So if I could have the deputies, do you need something, young man? Yes, sir. What do you need?
I saw my brother go down the Fight for Life.
Okay, we'll do that when we're done, okay? All right, you and me later. So if we could have the deputies that were on the call, have you guys step up and in your golf attire and share with us what transpired when you arrived on scene.
All right.
You were just coming for cookies.
That's what I was here for. Yeah, I remember that same thing you had going on. We weren't getting the information relayed to us the way we thought we would. When I got there, I wasn't prepared for what I saw. I seen a kid that was very badly burned. I think I asked rescue to step it up. I don't know if you guys were already on scene or if we got there at the same time or what, but yeah, I got there, saw that, and then I immediately went from helping the kid to you guys got there and then taking pictures and preserving the scene in case we had a criminal investigation. And then you guys took over and I called for the detectives. So they came out there and investigate and make sure that we didn't have a criminal situation, which it turned out not to be, just a kid playing with matches. So, Tim, you want to come up here?
Hey, you got me covered already. That's all I did.
I think it'd be nice if you came forward, sir.
You're not going to win. You're not going to win.
Right before I get arrested, right? Excellent.
There's really not much more for me to add what Terry said. I went up and investigated. Thank you.
You gotta get up here for a picture.
No, all we did is, once they gave us a call, because I think a lot of it had to do with the information that we weren't really getting right off the bat, and we didn't know exactly what happened. And unfortunately, bad things happen to kids that are meant. Luckily, this is not, thank God. So then we just, from there, went to the scene, got all the information from Terry that we were able to glean, and then I shot up the freighter and talked to the little fella, talked to Mom, and did a little investigating afterwards and found out what exactly happened. We were able to kind of connect some of the dots that didn't seem to make sense at first and made sense, and it ended up being just a horrible accident.
He's in the room. Yeah. Right there? He's looking a lot better than the day we saw him. Do you want me to sit down now?
Yes, sir.
I think you should stay up there. It's so comforting.
So, from Town of Salem Fire Rescue, who was first on scene? Is Mike here?
No, Mike is not here.
So, next up, don't be shy, thank you, please come.
That would be Kayla and myself.
You know the drill, Kayla.
Okay. Kayla and I were in the ambulance, and Jim Copeland, where are you, Jim? Yeah, Mike, we already mentioned Mike Murdoch. Mike arrived first on scene. When we first got the call out, we were trying to figure out what exactly happened, and I know we put flight in the air, just on standby right away. And when Mike got on scene and saw the significance of the burns, he told dispatch that flight needed to go in the air. When we first arrived, Mike brought Bryce to the ambulance with us, and I think Jim, you arrived at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So we immediately started treating Bryce and trying to find out some information. And Jim, you can hop up here too, because you came in. Jim came in our response vehicle shortly after we arrived on the scene, and actually, I know once we got Bryce situated, we actually started rolling to Station 1 here where we had flight land. I believe it was about 22 minutes from start to finish for the call. It was very quick. The flight, since we put you guys on standby, you guys do put the bird in the air at that time. That kind of saved a whole bunch of time for us. So.
Like Tammy alluded to in the beginning, with any given emergency, the individual that's on the other end of the phone that's calling 911 is hysterical. And so the dispatcher, trying to get the information from them, accurate information, in order to help facilitate things, one of the major problems we had is the initial information for us, we thought it was just a thermal burn of gasoline, a chemical burn from the gasoline, and not necessarily a thermal burn that was on the patient that the patient was on fire. So once we had realized that it was a thermal burn, when Mike had got there and expedited everything efficiently, and that's exactly how it went. Everybody's team clicked, and all the pieces came together. So this young man is here with us today.
We have fire crew too. Okay. The fire crew, if you were here, would you come up? Okay. Kyle Tobias, Mark Paulson, Jessica Damro, Dave Kirsting, who is working shift tonight, was received fire.
So we were the crew that landed the helicopter here. We were right out back. I remember it was fairly easy for us. It was nice weather. We have pretty much no hazards back there. It's a spot the flight crew has landed in many times before. So we got out there right away. We had the landing zone set up. We contacted flight, let them know the ground was secured and everything was good to go for the landing. And they landed just before the ambulance got here. So I think it was a couple minutes before, but like right after they landed, the crew was out and the ambulance was pulling in, and kind of all went together pretty well.
So you don't have letters on your body. I mean, you do have letters on your body, but you know that. So now you get, continue on.
That's exactly what I was going to say, yeah. We need the part and the helicopter.
Yeah, what they said. Yeah.
That was just his first flight call, of landing flight.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got so excited sitting there by myself.
So now this is the young man that was the patient.
Chief was giving me some pointers. This is my first day doing this.
Well, you act like it. I'm in trouble now. I'm in deep trouble.
Tom, I'll have you come up and
Sure.
share a little bit about what you and Chelsea did,
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
please.
Well, I'm gonna actually work off of the comment that we just made by the fire crew and that. Whose first time was it landing the helicopter? Thank goodness that she was there, because you know what, it was our pilot's first time landing the helicopter too. And we made sure that we explained to him, you have to remember, put the skids down and the rotor up. Last time it didn't work so well. Just kidding. So when we got dispatched, the information that was provided to us was very similar to what you had for dispatch information. We had gotten notified that we had a burn patient. We didn't know if it was adult or pediatric, so once again, it makes it difficult at best to prepare for it as you're arriving on the scene. As we got en route to the incident, coming into the area here, the clouds parted, the sunshine started beaming down upon us, and we made this beautiful landing in this fantastic landing zone you set up. It was tremendous. You did a great job. All kidding aside, the reason we're here is presenting the Scene Call of the Year award is because, as Tammy had said, as well as some of the other individuals had said, everything just clicked. You have those calls, you go home at night after the call, and you go, man, that really went well. And that's why we're here presenting the Scene Call of the Year award, because everything that day clicked. Everything went well. Everything fell into sequence exactly the way it should have. And that's why this young man is standing here in front of us, smiling, right? There it is, smiling and doing as well as he's doing, because everything that day just clicked. And realistically, from a flight medic standpoint, our job becomes so much easier when you, as the EMS and fire crews, did exactly what you did that day. You did everything right that made this work. From the initial patient contact, to the assessment, to the care you provided, to the setting up the landing zone, to getting communications going back and forth between us as well as your fire and EMS crews, so we knew what we were walking into. Okay? And then we got there, got on the ground, and we spent less than 10 minutes on the ground. Less than 10 minutes from the time we landed, waiting a minute or two for the ambulance to get there, till the time we were able to load Bryce into our helicopter and we're off and away to Children's Hospital, Wisconsin. Less than 10 minutes is a fantastic scene time, as you all know. And you did everything. We had nothing to do from a medical standpoint other than to provide care and comfort for little Bryce. You had already started the IV, you had already cooled his burns, you had already packaged him, and so it made our job that much easier. Once again, loaded him in the aircraft. Bryce, do you remember the aircraft ride? What did you like about the aircraft ride? Do you remember? No? Was it fun? Did we keep you comfortable? Did we give you lots of good medicine to make you feel better? And that's as simple as it got. You had already done everything else. It made our job that much easier to get Bryce to Children's Hospital, Wisconsin, that much quicker to get him the care he needed. Now, I'm going to expound upon that just a little bit, because Bryce, as Bryce probably does not know, we actually have, now Bryce, where is he in his treatment?
We are 2 months shy of 2 years. We have a year and a half left.
Fantastic. So things are going great, I'm assuming? Here was where, and I'm going to tell you this from my personal experience only, here's where the pucker factor came in. We all have those times where the hair stands up on the back of your neck, right? And you get that pucker factor, you're just like, oh, crap. And Bryce was my oh, crap. And here's why. You probably didn't know that there's another little boy at Children's Hospital, Wisconsin, who was in the hot unit there. Was he in the hot unit there for his treatments? And guess what his name was? Bryce. And you're both about the same age. And I was like, oh my gosh, that better not be our little Bryce. And thankfully it wasn't our little Bryce, it was you, the new little Bryce. So you become our new little Bryce mascot for Flight for Life. And I'm glad you're doing as well as you're doing. And I want you to keep up the hard work, and you're going to beat this, right? All right. So there's how things went. Okay?
I do want to mention a couple things related to Bryce, number one. Tom and some of the other team members went to visit our other Bryce, our first Bryce, at Children's. They stopped to see him. He looked out his window when the helicopter would come. They sent pictures. So I think it was probably hard for Tom to have another Bryce. But it turned out to be a really good story, so we're grateful for that. Before I ask Bryce and his mama if they want to stand up, if they don't, that's okay. I know you got a brother that's cheering for you back there. What's your name, youngin?
Aiden.
Aiden, you're shy, aren't you? We'll get to the question in a minute, okay? Calls like this test everyone, and why is that? You have a young son. Many of you have young children or grandchildren or neighbors or kids that you love. And you come into a situation where there's a child and it is stressful. And you guys had to keep your vision on what you needed to do and to do it without letting your emotions take over what you saw in front of you. And the fact that you didn't know initially that the plastic that was burned was a port added to that when you're trying to figure that out. And I hope that those of you that are new to this, the cadets that are in the back, and we had a board member, there you are, sir, thank you for coming. I hope you understand, sir, that moments like this, that 10 minutes on the ground, that 22 minutes when they were waiting for us, when they arrived on scene, when the dispatch call came in, when you guys showed up, that takes years of training. And years of training and preparation do not come without cost. And I mean blood, sweat, tears, money, investment. And that's what this department has done over the years. Bryce is a testament to that investment. Whether it's in dispatch when you guys are getting your EMD training, whether it's in the sheriff's department when you guys go through your training. It's an investment in your community, and it takes that investment to bring that moment in time where the teamwork comes together and you make a difference. Because you're not in this to make a lot of money, are you? Because if you are, you should probably choose another career, because it's not about the money. It's the moments that Tom had when he first saw Bryce and Mary and Mike, and when you got that phone call, and when you showed up and saw a child that was burned, and as a dad, how you felt, and you show up as a detective.
I felt sad.
You did? I'm sure you did.
And I saw his bone. I saw his bone.
You saw his bone. Burns. You saw his burns?
No, I saw his bone.
Just so we all know. So I just want to make sure that no one forgets that having a patient come back and being recognized for one in however many thousands of calls you do will make a difference and will fill up your cup when it gets empty and when you've had a bad day. And certainly Bryce, sitting here today, brings about a lot of happy days for a lot of people. So if you would, Mama, I don't know your name. Dolly, if you and Bryce would like to, if you want to. Okay. I hate him, does. You want to come with me? Because I'm a lot more fun. Hey, Tom, here, come here.
Everyone can imagine it was a parent's nightmare. The dispatcher was absolutely amazing. I was in a full-blown panic. I really didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how to answer. And she was very calm, very calming, very helpful.
How about let go? Just let them go.
And I couldn't thank her more for that, because I was just in a panic attack, in survival mode, more so to say. Bryce was in the hospital from June 16th until July 7th. When we were first admitted, they didn't know what the outcome was going to be. In the US and Europe, there are no case studies of any child or adult being on chemotherapy and to have significant body burns. He is the first patient, and they are doing a case study, so he's making a difference in that point. They initially told us that we would be in the hospital until the end of September, and he's proved the doctors wrong every step of the way. And it's just been an amazing experience. Okay, relax.
He, I don't know how I would have made it through that day without everyone's help. Trying to help me remain calm and relax until everything, until we were able to follow to go to Children's to find out what actually, where we were. I'm just trying to think. So, I'll just put it this way. I always knew my son was going to have a testimony from the day that he was diagnosed with leukemia. We went through 3 months of going to doctors 8 times. We went to the ER in 2 months, and they misdiagnosed him every time. And finally, I took him to a different hospital, and they diagnosed him with toxic synovitis, which is sepsis in his hip. They said, follow up with your pediatrician in 5 to 9 days, it usually goes away. Well, it had been going on for 2 months, and I called this pediatrician, and she did the lab work and ultrasound, and she said, go to Children's. You're going to be admitted for 7 to 10 days for the top. He was pretty much in sepsis. And we got to Children's, and he was in surgery, and oncology came and said, by the way, there's some abnormal cells in your son's blood, and on top of the sepsis, he not only has sepsis, but he has leukemia. And he was in the process of dying. His body was shutting down when we found out. We were in the hospital for 45 days, and we've made it, I think it's almost 2 months to before 2 years. And then when he was burned, the burn specialist at Children's did not believe in God. And it was really hard for me to place my children in the hands of a surgeon that did not believe in God. And she came back and she said 98% was 2nd and 3rd degree burns. He's going to have to be skin graft almost everywhere that he was burned. And that was after the 1st or 2nd debridement. It was after the 2nd debridement on a Friday. And she's like, I'm sorry, that there's no way around it. And after I regained my composure from that, I just looked at her and I said, ma'am, do you believe in the power of prayer and God's miracle? And she said, I'm sorry, I don't, and what I believe is not going to change your son's case in this matter. And I tried my hardest to do what was best in the situation, and I just said, you know what, I'll pray for your heart, because my son has not only beat sepsis, but he's also beat leukemia. And just keep an open mind. And her rebuttal was, just be prepared to be here until the end of September. And she walked away and said, have a nice day. He was skin grafted the next Monday. He was sedated in a coma for 8 days. On the 9th day, he was transferred to the surgery unit, which is also the burn unit. And they said, this is where his recovery will start. He'll be here until the end of your stay. He won't be up and walking for at least 2 to 3 weeks, and he won't be running for at least a month or 2. Now, mind you, the whole time that he was in the ICU, even when he was sedated, he was refusing to go to the bathroom in a diaper. He literally would make us get him up and put him on a commode, because that's how stubborn and fierce and fighting that he was. At the end of that 9th day, when she walked away and said we were going to be there until the end of September, I looked at him, and it was a few days before the 4th of July, and I said, usually children will give day passes, and I said, by the off chance, Bryce says, like, you want to go home? It's a couple days before 4th of July. You want to see fireworks? And he says, yes, Mom. I said, well, you need to get up and you need to try. And you need to try your hardest, and it doesn't matter how hard it is. Don't give up. And within an hour of that conversation, it was about 5 o'clock at night. About 6 o'clock at night, he was up and walking the whole unit, and the next day he was running. And a week later from that date, we were released from the hospital. And then 4 days after we were released, the surgeon that told me she didn't believe in God called me and said, for the first time in 17 years, I'm going to church on Sunday, and I just want you to know that I saw God's work through your son, and I'm one of the first people to be a part of his testimony. And I just spoke with her last week, and she hasn't missed a day of church, and she's now a youth minister through the Wednesday night groups. And it's all because of him. But I just thought I'd share that. But he wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you guys. And I couldn't thank you guys enough for taking care of my son. Okay, what do you have to say?
Okay. It's all right, Amy, you can talk now.
This was a very traumatic experience for him as well, because we were sitting in the living room watching TV when his brother came running in the house, and not knowing what was going on, he was sitting on my lap. The first thing I did was put him in the direction of the hallway, and he was the first person to see Bryce. So he's very upset about it.
One time my brother was on the purple lights and he was so scared. He just was scared and he go to the hospital.
You just wanted your picture taken. I got that figured out. Well, I don't know that there's anything else left to say, other than I'm about to cry, or I am. We appreciate you being here, because your being here and Bryce being here makes a huge difference to the people that do this job every day. And we're grateful for that. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thanks for sitting in my lap. So I would like to congratulate the town of Salem Fire and Rescue for winning the 22nd annual Sing Call of the Year Award for the McHenry Base. I don't know that there's anything left to say right now, other than you guys did an amazing job, each and every one of you. Starting with your phone call, and Amanda, Sheriff's Department, Fire and Rescue, our team, the folks at Children's, your family, and obviously God had a hand in everything that happened, and it all fell together. But these guys had to be ready for that day, and they were. So thank you.
Thank you.